Hello everyone, welcome to this video. I am the Witch of Paint, also known as Daria, and in this video I decided to take a picture I took on the same walk that my family and I saw the fairy godmother's house on. This time there is no fairy house to go off of, but there is these two, and yes, there is two of them, these two trees that have fallen over and are just casually hanging above the canyon or ravine. I don't know the word for it really, but I'm sure one of those two is correct, or maybe some other, but I will have the image up here anyway, so you know what I mean. English is not my first language. I don't know all the words very well, and I don't know the right term for this. But anyway, let's just say we walked through underneath them really fast because, you know, the trees hanging above you, it looks cool, but a bit dangerous. I thought, though, that maybe this could be turned into something nice for the fairies. Like, say, a little fairy hotel, which obviously means that in this painting I'm going to put lots of fairies. Obviously, all the while using this as an excuse to talk more about fairies. Because I absolutely love fairies and I want to know more about them, especially in the context of Irish legends and stuff. As I was writing this script, I did come across a video on YouTube that was all about an island that appears only every 7 years, which is just what I was looking for last week. But I didn't put in the right words in Google for it to tell me exactly what I wanted. But somehow I stumbled across this video this time, and I wonder how YouTube knew I was looking for that. A bit creepy, but anyway. The island mentioned in the video was called Brazil, or Brazil, I don't know how to pronounce it. I just realised that. But it definitely didn't look like it lay off the Causeway Coast, which I think is somewhere up north, but it always appeared somewhere west of Brazil Isle, and it's not really anything to do with Green Isle, like in that one article. Maybe I should have kept reading in that article, because I don't remember if I did, and maybe if I didn't, then that's on me for not reading it right. Maybe it was just me not researching properly, but I mean, the sort of websites I landed on randomly landed on a website that was telling me about fairies, while on the right hand side it was trying to sell me wedding rings for some reason. I don't remember why. I think it was supposed to be a website for wedding rings that was just randomly talking about fairies. I don't see the connection, but here we are. So anyway, the Isle of High Brazil, which is what its full name is, and it's spelled H-Y, then a dash, B-R-A-S-I-L. There's no connection to, you know, Brazil, the country Brazil. There's no connection to that, as far as I could tell from the articles, which were mostly all talking about the same thing, which was that people have been looking for it. People didn't find it. People were still looking for it, hoping that maybe one day they will find it, because it appears every 7 years for a day, and the rest of the year it's just hidden by fog. Maybe once upon a time there was an island there. I don't know. I couldn't tell. Mostly it was just people looking at old maps, and I swear every time I saw an image of those maps, the Isle of Brazil was put in a different spot, which just proves that people didn't know where it was, if it was even real. I don't know why the Celts were telling themselves stories about this island. The articles didn't bother talking about that. Who knows why? They just mentioned, oh yeah, it used to be like a story they told back then, and people have been looking for it, but it's not real, so stop looking. So that was a dead end. What we did say is that the name probably came from the tribe that was called... I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this wrong. If I do, I'm sorry. Bresail. Bresail. Or maybe there's a connection to the High King of the World, Breasal. I'm German. I don't know how to pronounce these words. but that name is spelled Breasal, which close enough, you know. But as interesting as it is to know that there is an island that supposedly appears only every 7 years, I really want to know what's like on the island. I really wanted to know that. There were like mentions of like some old dude living there. That was about most I could find in the short time that I looked, but I quickly got bored of it because it clearly wasn't a fairy island, like that one article said. So I moved on and decided that Google isn't going to do it for me. So I was going to say steal, but I didn't really steal it. I just kind of borrowed a book from my youngest sister, because she has a book from like a few years back that's called Pocket Irish Legends, 28 Classics to Delight and Entertain. So I took a little read through some of the stories, just to find something about fairies, you know, as you do. I just thought, you know, book might do a better job than Google, which it did, because the story was quite a lot more fun to read through. So just from looking through the titles, I quickly found a legend called the Fairy Liss, and it's spelled Lios, and my first instinct was to pronounce it Leos, but it is pronounced Liss according to the pronunciation guide in the back of the little pocket legend book. But I'm not sure what it means exactly. I don't really know if the meaning was, like, if Google was telling me the truth about the meaning. I'm a bit confused because the girl in the story picks some bluebells, but then Google tells me that Liss means an enclosed old space. I'm a bit confused on that. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not English. I don't know this stuff. Anyway, the story goes that Connor and his sister Edna were outside, and Edna picked some bluebells because she loves flowers, and picking flowers for, you know, she's a kid. Flowers are pretty. What you want to do. But she picked the bluebells from a fairy Liss, and the parents had told them not to because that would anger the fairies, and we know that angering the fairies is not something you want to do, which Edna learned the hard way in this story, even though I think the fairies are being incredibly unreasonable. It was just a few flowers, literally. She just picked a couple, and that was it. But the fairies were super, super, super mad at her. So every time Edna tried to go into bed, her bed was suddenly full of stinging nettles. You know, the green plants that, when you touch them, it burns like crazy. I feel so bad for her because, well, I guess in the fairies' minds, it was a crime, a serious, serious crime. But I just don't see it. It's like they're overreacting, in my opinion. But anyway, this is just a story. I shouldn't be taking it too seriously. It's a story for kids, to tell them to be careful and not pick flowers from the fairy Liss. But it's just a story. I shouldn't be taking it so seriously. So, by the next night, Connor went to visit the fairy Liss to politely ask the fairies to leave his sister be. They said no, because picking flowers is a massive crime, apparently, in their opinion, and it's worthy of being punished with nettles in the bed as you're trying to lie down to sleep. But Connor manages to convince them to help by playing music for them on his tin whistle, because before he'd seen the fairies and the leprechauns dancing in the fairy-less, and so he figured, you know, if I play a little bit of music, they'll listen. And they did. So I guess for fairies, music is magic. I love this somehow. Solving it just by playing a bit of music. But I think it should have just been solved by him going like, okay, I know you're mad, but please leave her be. It's not gonna happen again, I promise. And that should have been enough for the fairies. He shouldn't have had to do something for them. I think they're so unreasonable. Right, I'm pretty sure I said before that I love fairies, but these fairies are a bit mean. Just a bit mean. But then again, I suppose she disturbed nature, so I guess the moral of the story is don't pick the fairies' bluebells if you don't want nettles in your bed. But obviously, this is just like a poor summary of me, of the story. So if you want to like read the full thing, I'm sure there's these Pocket Legend books somewhere online. I know I've seen them in like pretty much every bookshop I've been to in Ireland here. Which technically there haven't been too many bookshops, but in the ones I have been to, there are these Pocket Legend books. I think there's also one with Pocket Leprechaun stories. Maybe I'll get my hands on it at some point. I'm going to try and get myself more books with these legends, because these are a lot more fun to read about than articles telling me the same thing over and over and over and over again. So when I get my hands on one of those books, I suppose you will all know. Because I'm looking forward to this. But there was another story in the book that mentioned, again, something magical happening by the seaside every 7 years. And this time the story was about a magic cloak that the leprechauns used to hold back the tide, to farm the land, and Owen wanted to steal the cloak so he could use that land underneath the sea for whatever reason. Well, not for whatever reason. Technically, there was a reason. He wanted to become rich by being a farmer on this land, this precious land that belongs to the leprechauns, who basically, technically, just sit upon the cloak and fix their shoes, apparently. Not gonna spoil for you if Owen, not Ian. It's another name that's spelled weirdly. Oh well. But Owen, I'm not going to tell you if Owen ever managed to steal the cloak, because we're starting to come to a close and I haven't barely talked about my painting. I do realise that at points in this video my camera was being a little weird and I kept readjusting it. The problem has been fixed by now, but at the time I didn't feel like turning off the camera, readjusted and turned it back on again, because I wanted to technically keep painting. I did outline some of the fairies, like the smaller ones, just to not have them blend in, because they were tiny. You know, didn't do the outlines for the big fairy because I liked the way she looked. I also know that some of these parts of the video are a bit blurry. I'm sorry, but at least in the end you're going to get a good look at the final result. And I think it's not too bad, the blurriness, it's just like a little bit out of focus. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, I think I did quite a good job with this, and I am quite happy with how everything turned out. I am so happy with it. And I will let you look at the final result sometime about now or soon. But I absolutely love how it turned out. I think I did a really good job with the trees and the little river and stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. So if you want to subscribe and like the video if you did like it. Also check out my Instagram, Twitter and Twitch links down below in the description. And if you'd like, I also have a Discord server you can join, so we could chat more about art and random stuff. Have a magical day, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye!